In a move that could redefine the British monarchy, a make-or-break conversation is underway that could see Princesses Beatrice and Eugenie stripped of their royal titles. The sisters are now at the heart of a royal firestorm, and their future, along with that of the monarchy itself, hangs in the balance. For years, they have existed in a strange royal twilight zone, princesses by birth, but private citizens by trade, performing no official duties. But the sins of their father are now casting a shadow so dark, it threatens to extinguish their royal light for good. The ongoing fallout from Andrew Mountbatten Windsor's scandals has reached a fever pitch, forcing a question the palace can no longer ignore. Can a modern monarchy afford to have princesses tainted by association, even if they are innocent of any wrongdoing themselves? The situation has become a ticking time bomb, and it exploded last month. In February 2026, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, the disgraced former Duke of York, was arrested on suspicion of misconduct in public office. He was questioned for over 11 hours before being released under investigation. This seismic event, following years of controversy, has made the collateral damage to his daughters unavoidable. They are now trapped in the wreckage of their parents' choices, facing a critical moment that will define the rest of their lives. A royal source has stated the sisters are extremely unhappy, feeling they have been left out in the cold by a palace that is no longer willing to shield them. To understand how Beatrice and Eugenie arrived at this precipice, we must look back at the chain of events that brought the House of York to its knees. The story is a grim one, a cascade of scandal and misjudgment that has played out on the public stage for years. It began with their father's disastrous friendship with the convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, a connection that has poisoned the family name and corroded public trust. The fallout has been relentless. In November 2019, Andrew sat down for what has become one of the most infamous television interviews in royal history, a car crash of an attempt to clear his name that only dug him into a deeper hole. The public backlash was immediate and overwhelming. In the years that followed, the consequences were severe. He was forced to step back from public duties, and in 2022, he paid a multi-million-pound out-of-court settlement to Virginia Giuffre, who had accused him of sexual assault, an allegation he has consistently denied. The palace, under the late Queen Elizabeth II and now King Charles III, has been in damage control ever since. In October 2025, a decisive blow was struck when King Charles officially stripped his brother of his remaining Prince and Duke of York titles. He was now, in the eyes of the law and the public, simply Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. At the time, Buckingham Palace gave assurances that Andrew's daughters, Beatrice and Eugenie, would not be affected. Their titles were safe. But that promise was made before the latest firestorm. His arrest last month on suspicion of misconduct, related to allegations he shared sensitive government information during his time as a UK trade envoy, has changed everything. The scandal has now reached a new, criminal dimension, and the shockwaves are heading directly for his children. As one royal expert grimly noted, the punishment now appears to be extending to Beatrice and Eugenie, and it wouldn't surprise anyone if they suddenly lost their titles. But how did two princesses, who perform no official royal duties, end up with such prominent titles in the first place? The answer lies in a dusty, century-old royal decree. The 1917 letters patent, issued by their great-great-grandfather King George V, dictated the rules for who could and could not be a prince or princess. The decree stated that the children of the sovereign and the grandchildren of the sovereign in the direct male line would automatically hold the style of His or Her Royal Highness. As daughters of Prince Andrew, the son of Queen Elizabeth II, Beatrice and Eugenie were automatically born as princesses. It was their birthright. This stands in stark contrast to their cousins, the children of Princess Anne and Prince Edward, who do not hold princely titles. Princess Anne chose not to give her children, Peter and Zara, any titles at all, hoping to give them a more normal life. Prince Edward and his wife Sophie, with the Queen's agreement, decided their children would be styled as the children of an earl, rather than as prince and princess. This has created a confusing and inconsistent landscape within the royal family. Beatrice and Eugenie exist in a unique and increasingly precarious position. They are princesses with HRH styles, yet they are not working royals. They don't receive public funding, and they have built their own careers, Beatrice in the world of tech consultancy and Eugenie in the art world. For years, this balancing act was manageable. They attended major family events and supported some charities, all while living essentially private lives. But their status as non-working princesses has become a lightning rod for criticism, especially in the context of their father's disgrace. Their titles grant them a level of privilege and access that, critics argue, is no longer justifiable. The pressure on the York sisters is compounded by another powerful force: King Charles's long-held vision for a slimmed-down monarchy. For decades, Charles has argued that the monarchy must modernize to survive. A key part of that plan is to reduce the number of publicly funded, working royals to a core group of senior family members. The goal is to create a more efficient, less costly, and more focused institution, one that is less open to criticism about hangers-on. In this streamlined vision of the future, where do Beatrice and Eugenie fit? The honest answer is, they don't. They are not, and have never been, part of the core group of working royals. Their existence as titled princesses who do not serve the nation in an official capacity is a direct contradiction to the king's philosophy. This was a manageable inconsistency when the family was popular and stable. But now, with the House of York engulfed in scandal, their status has become a serious problem for the king and his. The departure of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle and the disgrace of Prince Andrew have already radically slimmed down the royal roster, perhaps more than Charles ever intended. Some commentators have even suggested that Beatrice and Eugenie might be called upon to take on more prominent roles to fill the void. However, the opposite seems to be happening. Instead of being brought into the fold, the sisters are being pushed further to the margins. Reports have emerged that they may be excluded from key royal events, such as the prestigious carriage procession at Royal Ascot, a very public demotion. This is the slimmed-down monarchy in action, and it appears to have little room for the York princesses. As royal commentator Richard Palmer has bluntly stated, they don't do anything for the nation, and their ambiguous role only fuels public scrutiny. This brings us to the make-or-break conversation at the heart of this crisis. While there may not be a formal summit underway in a Buckingham Palace drawing room, a fierce debate is raging among royal experts, commentators, and the public. This is the real conversation, and its outcome could be just as binding as any royal decree. The central question is stark: should Beatrice and Eugenie be stripped of their titles to save the monarchy from further damage? On one side are those who argue that the time has come for a clean break. Royal biographer Andrew Loney is one of the leading voices in this camp, arguing that the titles are the source of the problem. He claims the sisters, particularly Beatrice, use their royal status to advance their private business interests. She's always Her Royal Highness Princess Beatrice when she's doing things promoting businesses in the Middle East, Loney stated. His point is that their titles provide a commercial advantage derived from an institution they do not officially serve, a practice he says mirrors their parents' controversial careers. Royal expert Richard Palmer agrees, predicting that the sisters will inevitably end up losing their royal titles. He believes they would be better off leaving their royal association behind and fading into the background. Public sentiment seems to be leaning in this direction. A recent poll indicated that a majority of respondents believe the princesses should lose their titles. For many, the association with Andrew and the Epstein scandal is simply too toxic to tolerate. As royal commentator Robert Jobson put it, the titles tie them to Andrew, to Epstein, to all of it. On the other side of the debate are those who argue that punishing the daughters for the sins of the father would be a grave injustice. PR consultant Kayleigh Cornelius has warned that forcing them to give up their titles could backfire. She argues that public feeling is still largely sympathetic towards the sisters, and that stripping them of their birthright could be seen as an unnecessary and vindictive step. Under the current circumstances, she notes, it could unintentionally suggest guilt or wrongdoing, inviting further scrutiny rather than closure. This perspective suggests that a forced renunciation of their titles would create a fresh wave of scandal and headlines, portraying the monarchy as cruel and unfair. After all, there has been no suggestion of any wrongdoing by either Beatrice or Eugenie. They have been caught in a storm not of their own making. King Charles himself is said to be very fond of his nieces and sympathetic to their plight. He has been described as the only one in the senior royal circle who is still fighting their corner. This places the king in an incredibly difficult position, torn between his affection for his nieces and his duty to protect the institution of the monarchy from further reputational harm. Caught in the crossfire of this intense debate are the two women at the center of it all. Beatrice and Eugenie are reported to be emotionally drained and mortified by the relentless scandals surrounding their parents. A source claims Eugenie was the first to distance herself, with Beatrice now following suit, believing it's their only choice to avoid being dragged down. Their actions seem to reflect this turmoil. They have maintained a very low profile since their father's arrest. Eugenie recently stepped down from her patronage of the charity Anti-Slavery International, a move that commentators see as the beginning of a withdrawal from public life. They are in an impossible position. Loyalty to their parents pulls them in one direction, while the instinct for self-preservation pulls them in another. They are reportedly concerned they will lose their titles and privileges, not because of their own actions, but as a direct result of their parents' conduct. The situation is complicated further by the internal dynamics of the royal family. While King Charles is said to be sympathetic, Prince William is reportedly more cold-eyed and unsentimental about the matter. For William, the primary concern is the long-term health and stability of the institution. His priority is to remove any and all threats to the crown, and the lingering York problem is a significant one. This difference in approach between the king and his heir adds another layer of tension to an already fraught situation. The sisters find themselves navigating a family divided on their future, with their primary advocate, the king, also being the man who ultimately holds the power to remove their titles. So, what does the future hold for Princesses Beatrice and Eugenie? Their path forward is shrouded in uncertainty. One possibility is that the predictions of experts like Richard Palmer will come true. They will be slowly and quietly edged out of royal life. This would be a strategy of gradual erasure, fewer appearances at state events, the loss of their subsidized royal residences like Beatrice's apartment at St. James's Palace, and eventually, a discussion about the future of their titles. Another possibility is that they take matters into their own hands. Royal expert Jenny Bond has suggested the wisest course of action would be for the sisters to voluntarily discuss giving up their titles. By taking the initiative, they could frame the decision as their own choice, a move to protect their own families and pursue their private lives, free from the crushing weight of public scrutiny. It would be a sacrifice, but it might also be a liberation, allowing them to finally step out of their father's shadow and define their own identities as Beatrice Mapelli-Mozzi and Eugenie Brooksbank. This crisis also has profound implications for the monarchy itself. How the king and Prince William handle this situation will send a powerful message about the future of the House of Windsor. Will it be an institution that values tradition and bloodline above all else, protecting its own no matter the cost? Or will it become a more ruthless, modern entity that prioritizes public purse,